If you thought the text messages from Blake Lively were bad, get ready because apparently there's footage, voice notes, emails, and way more text messages to come. Justin Baldoni's attorney is speaking out. They do plan on suing Ryan Reynolds. And yes, we will talk a bit about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and Craig Conover addressing his breakup with Paige. Let's dive in. You're listening to No Filter with Zack Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, served fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in. What's up, guys? Welcome on in. Today's a really weird day to be taping the podcast. As you know, I'm from Los Angeles, so I'm at the epicenter of all of the fires that are going on right now in California. My dog's right here. I have Sullivan right here with me. I let him in the studio because they want to go outside and play, but obviously they can't because the world is on fire right now. It's really wild. I'm not gonna lie. And I don't know. I'm not watching the news, so I don't know how they're reporting this. I just am seeing it from my own apartment, from my friends, from my family that have had to evacuate so the winds, it really took off kind of crazy last night. And we'll get into all the tea in just a sec, but I think it's important to talk about the fires right now and how people can support, because I saw Bethany Frankel and her Be Strong organization are already on top of it. But so yesterday, Tuesday, I guess that's when the fire started to spread. Because I remember before even going into the Pop Report studio, Andy texted me and he sent me a photo and he's just like, there's a fire. It's really bad. Like, this is kind of crazy. And I was like, oh my God. And then I saw that by the studio where we taped the Pop Report, down the street off of Sunset, in West Hollywood, that the fire was coming down to Sunset. I was like, oh shit. Like, this is crazy. We were fine. We ended up going in the studio. We taped the full episode. Everything was good. But then the winds really picked up last night. And the winds, I guess, really helped it spread. And there's been a tremendous amount of damage in the Palisades. I saw Spencer and Heidi. Their home is completely burned down. Other people have been posting that their homes in the Palisades are down. Bethany made a really good point about how, yes, it is true that a lot of these people have money and likely have insurance, but you have to remember they also have, people with estates this big have staff that probably don't have places to go or, aren't as, lucky to have family nearby. And it's crazy. I've checked in with all of my family. I'm in downtown LA. So I'm in the center of so I can see, actually, I have some visuals for you guys if you're watching this on Spotify or on YouTube. So this is a photo that was posted of the fire last night, just showing how wide in Los Angeles the fires actually are. So I'm in the center. Because the fires are all around us. Like, there's the Palisades all the way over to Pasadena and Altadena. Here's a map of Los Angeles specifically. So you can see, if you kind of zoom in, I'm right in the center. You can see the three biggest fires there. And I'm right kind of in the center of all three of them. So if they all spread, I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have to wait and find out. I think we'll be fine. I say that in jest, but we will be fine. I'm lucky that we're not close to the fires, but you can just see all of the smoke. So this is from my apartment this morning. The whole entire sky is just filled with black smoke and there's just ash everywhere. I went out this morning to take the dogs to potty and there was just ash everywhere. I tried to go to the gym this morning and I was like struggling when I was running because the air quality is so bad right now. Even though we're trying to stay inside and not be outside in it, even when I woke up this morning, like, my apartment just smelled like somebody had been smoking in it all night. It's really bad. But look, to show you how wide of a range. So you can see, I guess this is a closer view. There's the Palisades fire, there's the King fire, the Teresa fire, the Olive fire, the Tamarack fire, the Hearst fire, the Gulch Flat fire. So I'm right in between. It looks like the Teresa fire, which is out like in Pasadena, and then there's the Palisades fire. The Palisades fire is the one that I think is done. Well, actually, no, even in Pasadena, the photos and videos that we're seeing out of Pasadena are really, really bad. I mean, look at, like I showed you, there was this one where you can just see, this is like a wide view from like up high. You can see how all of around Los Angeles is literally burning right now. And so this map kind of just shows you the range of how it goes from, like, warning areas in Santa Barbara and then, all the way down to, the 10. It's just, Yeah, it's wild. And just seeing it, and like I said, everything is just covered in this thick, heavy black smoke. But I know a lot of people have DM'd and commented, and they're like, "We hope you're safe." I'm safe. I'm fine. I talked to my mom. She said that, by her, a couple of trees fell down because the winds have been so strong. I'm lucky that where I'm at, the winds weren't that strong last night. And there were no fires by us, but all the debris is kind of just all over LA. My aunt had to evacuate with their kids last night. She's in Pasadena. They had to go to my grandfather's house. They had to evacuate, and they were just saying like everything around them was burning down. The church and some of the local businesses just completely torched to the ground. You're seeing all the homes in the Palisades that are just gone. The videos are scary. It's wild. Right now, we're hearing that there are reports that some of the fire hydrants have run out of water. Apparently, Gavin Newsom, who's our governor here, didn't preserve enough water for an emergency like this. And this is apparently one of the worst fires that we've had in Los Angeles. A lot of people that have lived here for a long time that have experienced a lot of these fires that usually happen up in the hills, they're all saying that this is one of the worst that they've seen. And just considering how fast it spread and how wide it spread, like literally all of Los Angeles is engulfed in this. And you can just see all of LA is in this red zone right now. So nobody really knows what's happening or the containment. And like I said, some of these fire hydrants are already running out of water. So it's a really scary situation. Just please keep people in your thoughts and prayers. I know people are like thoughts and prayers don't do anything. I personally believe they do a lot more than um, than you may want to believe. I do believe, and I think that they can go a long way if you want to do something more and take action. Be Strong is on the ground, or they're preparing to, provide disaster relief. Even Bethany said from the last two fires, and she even remembers the Australian fires, and she says that so far, how fast that this has grown and how rapidly it's spreading, that this looks like one of the worst fire disasters that Be Strong has addressed. So just again, you can send your support to Be Strong. You can send supplies or money. They give out cash cards for people that have lost everything. They're sending out relief for people that need resources. Like I said, my family and friends, everybody that I know as of right now is not in harm's way. A couple of people I know have already been evacuated. I don't know the status of their homes. It wasn't looking good when I talked to a couple of them, but yeah, I mean, and these are close friends and people in my immediate family that are directly affected right now, so we don't know what's gonna happen. I didn't mean to start off today's show on such a heavy note, but, I just know that a lot of people have, reached out and asked if I'm safe and if I'm okay, and I'm safe, I'm okay, we're all good. Um, so we'll I'll continue to keep you guys posted for now. But it does feel weird coming on the podcast and like talking about Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. But I also know that there are more people outside of Los Angeles and Southern California. And if I can still have the luxury of coming on this podcast and working today, right? I'm not out of a job at the moment. But if I have the luxury of still being able to work and still hopefully provide a little tea, a little levity, a little lightheartedness that we can all spread, um, yeah, hopefully I can do that. So let's escape from the craziness for the next 45-ish minutes and let's dive in. Okay. So Justin Baldoni's attorney whew, is firing off on quite a lot. So um he just did an interview, and I will preface it and forewarn you because some of you are about to clutch your pearls. He did an interview on the Megyn Kelly show, and now before some of you tune out, 'cause some of you I know don't like her at all. I will say that I listened to the full interview, and it was a very good interview. That if you want, because I know a lot of people like to be like, you're biased, you're biased, you're biased. So if you want to be unbiased, I thought Megyn Kelly did a fine job of questioning Brian Friedman and really making some pro Blake Lively points, right? Like she was like, well, she says that Justin Baldoni was kept out of the premiere. And wouldn't that make sense if she felt so uncomfortable? And if there was this alleged harassment, wouldn't that make sense that she wouldn't want him near her? So she does make a lot of really good points that are in defense of Blake Lively that I think Friedman did a good job of addressing. So it kind of outside of my podcast, it's probably one of the few other coverages in the podcast world that I would recommend, because it really kind of goes in depth and covers things from a wide array and it does approach it. Um, it does approach it objectively. But it is funny because I've seen a lot of people criticize Megan Kelly. Like I even saw Gibson Johns, who has a podcast as well, and he's a very nice guy. I think I may have met him in person. I'm not sure. Very, very nice guy. Just launched his podcast, and I'd support him. But I saw he tweeted, and I responded to it because he was just like, an interview with Megan Kelly tells me everything I need to know. And like, he's not going to watch it because Megan Kelly conducted the interview. And I was like, well, first of all, that's kind of how our country got into such a fucking divide, is because everybody wants to be like, I'm not looking at that. I'm not listening to that. Which stupid. And number one. And number two, the double standards that people have right now, because it's like, hello, did we forget Leslie Sloan, who's Blake Lively's publicist, represented and defended Harvey Weinstein amid his scandal? And let's not talk about how Rose McGowan talked about the PR tactics for the smear campaign against her to prevent her from speaking out against Harvey Weinstein. You're going to tell me that his high profile publicist Leslie Sloan, who is defending and representing Harvey Weinstein and now represents Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds and has represented them for a long time. Blake Lively, Miss Pro Woody Allen. Where why do we suddenly have double standards because you don't like Megan Kelly? Okay. It was actually a good interview and I highly recommend it. So yeah, let's not have double standards. Let's, look at all of the information, analyze it from both sides, from all angles, and then you can make an educated decision. But when you want to stay in your echo chamber and you don't want to look at both sides of the coin, right? We on this podcast read all of Blake Lively's complaint and lawsuit. And then we read all of Justin Baldoni's complaint and lawsuit, and we're covering this as it's breaking, right? And the more information that we're getting, the more it's not looking good for Blake Lively. But yet you have people like Gary in the live chat who's like, I'm not going to watch Megan Kelly. She's racist. It's like, okay, Gary, go scratch your balls and watch, go go watch Nick Vial's podcast because that seems to be very objective. I mean, listen, if you want biased coverage that only is going to speak to the pro Blake side, which I see a lot of media outlets have started to do, which was funny. I saw an article, I think it was in USA Today, and they're just like, Blake Lively's not the perfect victim, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't believe her. And I'm like, I'm not believing her because I want to be anti-women. I'm starting to question her because a lot of what she's presented doesn't make sense. The context changes things. We're seeing very blatant omissions and manipulation of the text messages that she revealed, and just flat out lies that were told in her complaint that have now been completely disproven. And that's not part of a PR smear campaign. That's a allegation versus evidence, and the two don't align. So again, if you can take your head out of your butt and maybe give Megan Kelly's interview a chance, it's actually really good. But if you don't want to listen to it, I will recap it for you with all of the best tidbits. So they talk about Blake Lively having like producer credit and how, as a producer, you don't have as much control as Blake Lively was trying to flex. And then she kept kind of flexing her weight to gain more power on the set. They showed this voice note from Justin Baldoni, which is from the night of the premiere. And it's where because in his lawsuit, he says that at the It Ends With Us premiere, him and his family and his friends, and I believe his crew members, his team, were not allowed they were not allowed to be at the premiere around Blake or the other cast members. So Blake made intentional uh, attempts to make sure not only was he not on the carpet with her, but he was also completely separated from the rest of the cast as well. And they're claiming that Blake also orchestrated the all cast photos with her and Colleen, the author, and her and the other cast members to show that, they're supporting her, but they, aren't supporting him, or they're not posing with him. And so there's a new voice note that Brian Friedman revealed on Megan Kelly's podcast that I'll let you guys listen to, but I just thought it was really interesting because it's from the actual night of the premiere where Justin Baldoni claims that he was not allowed on the carpet when Blake was there. But not only that, he had a viewed the screening of the film that he claims he didn't get to watch because she blocked him and his team from being able to watch the final edit of his film that he's producing and directing. But his family and friends were also sequestered to the basement of the venue, which was considered the holding area, and that's where they had to wait for nearly an hour and a half for Blake to go and walk the carpet, and they couldn't be around her or near her or allowed near any of the other cast members, which again does make you think. And Megan Kelly brings up a good point. Well, if there is this harassment and if you are this terrible person to work with on set, why should you be around the rest of the cast member given these allegations? But the allegations so far have been unproven. But wait, there is more. But I want to play this audio clip from Megan Kelly's show of Justin Baldoni.
Think about this on what, could have been one of the most beautiful nights of my life career-wise. I literally was sent to the basement with all my friends and family for over an hour because I wasn't allowed to be seen. She didn't want me anywhere near her or the rest of the cast. So they ushered me off the carpet and they sent us down to the basement. We were down there together, my friends and family, the people that love me the most, and we start laughing because of the ridiculousness of this whole thing. And I realized, on a night that was supposed to be so materialistically joyful, I was in the basement with the people that I love the most, and we were all joyful and laughing. Because none of that shit matters. None of it. That's not why we're in the business. That's not why the three of us are in this business, is to attend a premiere like that and be celebrated. We're in this business because we're artists. And we believe in what we do, and because we want to create art that touches people's hearts and souls and can move people. And that's what we did. That's what you both did. And I believe that will follow each of us, and that truth will prevail, and that light and love will win.
So, that's an audio message that's from Justin Baldoni to his team, where he seems to be like, "Listen, we're still going to focus on the positive." And Baldoni and his legal team have made it clear that their priority was always to make sure the film was a success, which makes sense. And if you look at it objectively, you're like, okay, let's really ask ourselves, what would Justin Baldoni's objective be in trying to ruin Blake Lively, especially during the promotion of his film, It Ends With Us? Why would he want to tarnish the film? Why would he want to tarnish his lead actress, considering he already had the rights to the second film called It Starts With Us? He had a second film lined up. You're going to tell me he's going to try to tank the reputation of his lead actress? Wouldn't that hinder his opportunity to make more money off of the sequel? Wouldn't that hinder his opportunity of having a successful premiere for It Ends With Us, the first film? It doesn't make any sense as to why he would try to ruin her reputation unless he really was just being petty and vindictive, but that doesn't help his career, right? If he has a movie that's a flop, which would be It Ends With Us, if that movie completely tanked at the box office because people didn't want to watch it because they didn't like Blake Lively, then that's going to not make him look like a successful director or producer. It's not going to get him funding for a second movie. It makes no sense when you really think about it. What would be the benefit of him actually trying to ruin her reputation, you know? So it's interesting. The author standing by Blake just cost her another movie being made from her book. Yeah, well, I heard a theory. I don't know if this is a real theory or not, but I heard a theory that there's possibly a morality clause with him owning the rights to the second film, that if they're able to get him to relinquish the rights because he violated a morality clause, then, the rights would go back to Colleen, who could then give the rights to Blake Lively. I don't know how real that is. I don't know if the theory of there being a morality clause is real. I know Hollywood often has these morality clauses, and it's, very much like, community guidelines on social media. You violated community guidelines. And it's like, well, what are the community guidelines? What did I violate? How did I violate them? It's kind of how Hollywood likes to cancel certain people based off of them stepping out of line with a morality clause. Who knows? But so we have that voice note, which shows that does document that his team was sequestered to the basement where they had to wait, right? That's a time-stamped voice note that he sent when he reached out to his team after the premiere. So again, that's documentation that he has. This goes in addition to the text messages with his PR team, the text messages with his internal team, the text messages with the crew members, all of those that he's already released that. And his attorney says there are a lot more text messages, there are a lot more emails, there's this voice note, there's more to come. And not only that, but there's also footage from the set. And so at first people are like, footage, what did they film of her? That's so creepy. Oh my God, why are they filming her? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, just in case anybody fell out of a coconut tree. You're on a film set. So a lot of these allegations were made while they were filming certain scenes, right? She's like, there was a scene and we were filming and he whispered in my ear and it made me uncomfortable. And that was while we were performing a scene for the film, right? Well, they're saying, guess what? We own the footage. Like Baldoni produced this film. So all of the raw footage, they're saying they're planning to submit as evidence to prove that she is not being truthful. And they want to release the full cut of the footage so that people can see it in its entirety. And he's like, listen, you're going to see the footage and you're going to see what actually happened and you're going to see her reactions and you're going to see, how she responds and you're going to see, if she chooses to walk away, how she walks away, what her reactions are to him doing certain things, even in, like we saw the video footage of people when they were filming them on the streets and they were rehearsing their dancing scene. And you can see Blake and she's pulling Baldoni into her. She's directing him and she's grabbing his body and pulling it into her body. So he's like, we have footage of all of that. All of that is going to show a very different picture of what actually went down on the set of It Ends With Us, because he's saying that she's misrepresenting these claims, that she's taking things out of context, or that she's flat out just lying about a lot of these things. So Brian Friedman says that that their legal team plans to sue Blake Lively into oblivion. And not only Blake Lively, they said they're also bringing in Leslie Sloan, her publicist, again, who formerly repped and defended Harvey Weinstein, a la, let's not forget the smear campaign against Rose McGowan. I'm not saying that Leslie orchestrated that, but Rose McGowan has made allegations of there being a Hollywood smear campaign against her, and the only person with the power and money to do that probably would have been the person that committed the assault, which was none other than Harvey Weinstein, who was the publicist representing Harvey Weinstein. Oh yeah, Leslie Sloan, who currently represents Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Okay, so there we go. And then they're also, so they plan on bringing Leslie Sloan into it. They plan on suing Stephanie Jones from Jones Work, who gave them the original text messages that, appeared to be cherry picked when the New York Times published them in their article. And then we also have Ryan Reynolds. They say that they plan on suing Ryan Reynolds as well. And so Brian Friedman specifically references the clips from Deadpool. I believe not all of the clips made the final film. I think some of them may have been in the deleted scenes. But so some of the clips are circulating. I did want to play them on the show, but I was worried that there may be some sort of copyright infringement strike that may come as a result of that. So I'll just recap them. But so there's one scene in it's actually when you put it all together. So there's one scene. First of all, Ryan Reynolds is wearing a man bun, which very similar to Justin Baldoni, who grew his hair out and he was wearing a man bun. He also references, body weight, and he's like, oh, you should see, because he's good, nice pull is what they call his character, or this parody character that people are believing is Ryan Reynolds parodying Justin Baldoni, who has the man bun. His name is Nice Pull in the film. And so he says, he makes a comment about, he's like, you should see Lady Pool. She just had a baby and she looks great because she, I guess, lost all this weight so fast, which could be in reference to Blake Lively, who just had a baby, but didn't lose the weight as fast, right? And they're saying that he was shaming her for not losing the weight as fast enough, after she just had a baby. He was fat shaming her is what the allegation was. And then he's like, don't worry, I can say that because I identify as a feminist, right? Justin Baldoni, very much identifies as a feminist. He also references wanting to start a podcast that takes advantage or that capitalizes off of the women's movement. Justin Baldoni has his Man Up podcast, right? Where they try to abolish toxic masculinity. There's another scene where he calls out, "Where's the intimacy coordinator?" Which also could be very much in reference to the issues of not having an intimacy coordinator on set of It Ends With Us. Then on top of that, there's a scene where Nice Pool gets whacked. Okay. Whacked is the nice word for, you know what. And so he gets whacked by this blonde version of Deadpool. I think it's Lady Pool. But so she comes in and she just pew, 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 takes him out. And then they notice that he ends up getting taken out in front of, because somebody zoomed in and saw that right in the scene where he gets whacked, he ends up going out in front of a flower shop, which people are like, oh, that also kind of references um, It Ends With Us, because It Ends With Us, the whole, it centers around Lily's flower shop that she creates. So too many things that seemed a little what a coinkydink that now seem to contradict this, well, or support this theory that this could be about Justin Baldoni, which also contradict allegations that Blake Lively made in her lawsuit, because the argument is then made, if there was such seriousness with these allegations, then why didn't Blake leave the set? Number one, why did she continue to work with Baldoni? Why didn't she have him removed and not necessarily fired, right? Because it is his film. But if she went to Sony and she was like, I'm so uncomfortable with him, Sony's financing this film, right? That's where the money is. So that's where the power ultimately comes from, is where the money is funded from. The film, even though it was distributed by Sony, they were also financing the film. They were financing Wayfair's production of It Ends With Us. So we then bring into account, well, then why didn't she go to Sony and have Baldoni either removed, right? He would still technically be the lead actor, but he would have to maybe have a co-director or somebody else that would monitor the on-set behavior if Baldoni was so out of line. But that didn't actually happen. And Baldoni is even denying this 29 list complaint of all of these things that she claims happened on set, when he says that, so many of those things, so many of the items listed, were not presented to us and not necessarily in the list that we were given, and there are a lot of things that he adds in that in his lawsuit with the text messages and emails and the note that they wrote to their lawyer about her wanting the PGA mark and how they had to write that letter under duress because she was threatening to pull her support from the film in the promotion of it when the film was actually out and needed to be marketed. So there's a lot to it. But the Deadpool, Nice Pool stuff, I mean, getting whacked in front of a flower shop, references to being a feminist, the man bun, references to wanting a podcast that hijacks the women's movement, calling out for the intimacy coordinator. Like, that's just too many coinkydinks, right? That's 5 different references. And if the harassment was so prevalent, why would you make fun of it in a movie? Right? Why would Ryan Reynolds poke fun at it if this was such a traumatic incident for his wife? If this was so bad and, they were trying to get it shut down for the longest time, why would you joke about it? Why would you act out these things in your film, if not to troll him, right? If anything, it looks like you're trying to troll him more than anything. I don't think that when those scenes were filmed that there was a lawsuit in place or that there was a plan for a lawsuit in place. I mean, I think the lawsuit really only came as a defensive re- re- yeah, reaction to Baldoni suing or putting his lawsuit out against the New York Times, which also would make sense that he would sue the New York Times first, because if he sued Blake directly, even though she had not yet sued him, it would look retaliatory. And I think they were maybe planning on him suing Blake after she filed her legal complaint. And I think maybe that's why they filed their legal complaint in California first, but then made sure they had the lawsuit, on deck and ready to go, if depended on how he decided to play his cards. And so she was technically the first to sue. And so now it wouldn't necessarily look like retaliation, because he would just be reacting to her lawsuit now, which now they're saying they will be suing Blake. They will be suing Ryan Reynolds. They will definitely drag Stephanie Jones into it from Jones' work, because she made a lot of allegations against them as well, and how she it was her company that was technically hired to run the smear campaign, but she claims this was all being done unbeknownst to her. And Jennifer Abel, who's Baldoni's personal publicist, she went rogue and she went crazy and she wanted to take down Blake and all of this stuff. So it just continues to unfold in a wild, wild way. He sued the New York Times because of libel. Yes, it is a defamation case. It's libel. I think it was false light invasion of privacy, um, promissory fraud, and breach of implied in fact contract. So the first two in relation to libel, you're lying on my name, you're defaming my character, my reputation, whatever. And then the second two were in relation to the fact that the New York Times gave him a deadline. They reached out to him at 10 p.m. and told him you have until noon the next morning to respond before we run the article. So they said, we're running the article tomorrow at noon. It's 10 p.m. when they're giving him this notice, by the way. So most of the time that he had to respond or to read and issue issue a note for retraction or anything, that was literally overnight. Imagine being contacted at 10 p.m. and saying, hey, you have until tomorrow morning to read this entire article, to read this 80-page lawsuit or this 80-page legal complaint, and then to, respond to us and let us know, what your reaction is. But we're running the story tomorrow at noon, just FYI. So even if they wanted to provide evidence, like how do they even have enough time to rally up counter evidence to present to the New York Times to have the story covered in a fair and ethical way? So, and so because they gave him until the 12 noon deadline, they ended up publishing the article 2 hours early. I believe they published it around 10 a.m. So that's where the promissory fraud and breach of implied in fact contract comes in, because they're saying that they told him he had until noon to respond, and then they published the article early, so they're in breach of that implied in fact contract. And there was a promise that was made, and they were dishonest about that promise. And because they were dishonest about that promise, that hurt Baldoni, because that technically would have been 2 extra hours that he could have pulled together evidence to provide to the New York Times. That's BS by the New York Times. Any response Justin would raft would have been reviewed by lawyers first. Yeah. Suzanne says, I've seen Blake on recent interviews and she was very nasty. Why is she doing a film about spousal abuse when she just had a baby? That should be private. This should be private, not a smear campaign. Yeah. Renee says, my gut is telling me that Blake and Ryan aren't being completely truthful, but I'll let the law make the final call. Yeah, listen, all we can do is wait for it to play out in court. I don't know if we will see this play out in court. Well, I mean, it sounds like Baldoni really wants to go hard. But at the end of the day, he's already swaying the public and proving his case without even having to be in court. If this does go to trial, it's not going to be for a long time. Trial is well ahead of us. There's a chance that these oh, yeah, that's another good point, Christiana Wilson. Ryan was writing during the writer strikes. Well, again, so we don't know the exact timing of when Ryan Reynolds was allegedly contributing to the script of It Ends With Us, which was in an unofficial capacity. And the screenwriter came out and said, I didn't know about this. Baldoni said he didn't know about this. Nobody knew that Ryan Reynolds was helping Blake Lively write scenes or rewrite some of the intimacy scenes with Blake and Baldoni for It Ends With Us. And nobody knew that until she said it during the premiere when she was doing interviews. And she's like, oh, yeah, he helped write like this key scene where we're dancing on the rooftop or whatever. And so people are saying, well, if he did that, then that likely would have happened during the writer's strike. So he was making rewrites. Again, we don't have this confirmed because we don't know the exact timeline. This is more speculation that's coming from the internet. But there is a chance that he was rewriting these scenes while they were on break during the writer's strike. Why didn't he make fun about fat shaming? Why didn't he make fun about fat shaming and not harassment? Also, why didn't he make fun of I'm not sure what you're trying to say, P. So, yeah. Are you being paid by Jennifer? Am I being paid by Jennifer Abel? I wish. I told you guys. I already disclosed to you guys that I was actually paid by Ryan Reynolds last summer. I did a Mint Mobile deal. Probably won't happen again. I'm glad they paid me. It took them a while to pay me, but yeah, last summer the podcast was sponsored by Mint Mobile. So if anything, the only one that's paid me is Ryan Reynolds. No, I have not been paid by Jennifer Abel or Justin Baldoni. I just happen to be somebody with a critical brain. I'm sorry you lack one of those, but, usually when you put your thinking cap on, things start to work out together logically. Seems like Ryan Reynolds thought he is so big and untouchable. I hope this shows you nope, you are. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, Judy says he pokes fun at fat shaming and man buns, but not harassment. Well, the intimacy coordinator line, that speaks to the harassment. He pokes fun at the fat shaming, sure, the man bun. I mean, he pokes fun at Baldoni as a whole. And so you would think if this was a predator that was harassing your wife, why would you even bother with that? Like, why would you make fun of him in a movie if you weren't trying to flex your fame and power in Hollywood and trying to troll him? I don't think the lawsuit was ever the intention initially until her reputation really took a hit. But again, these scenes were filmed while It Ends With Us was in production. So it's very likely that they just kind of filmed it and didn't think anybody would actually notice unless you were an insider in their crew and it was more of just like a nod. Because it definitely seems like they are references towards Baldoni. Soon says Brian Friedman in the interview with Megyn Kelly said Blake and her team signed the complaint with CRD under penalty of perjury. Brian said that he has proof that she lied and said their deposition will be interesting. Yes. So let's talk about that because getting back to the, I'm trying to see, is there anything else? They do go through Nathan and Abel's text messages. Megyn brings up good points about their text messages saying that they're ready to go and they're ready to make Blake's life a living hell. But then they only reference the article that was planted as the Daily Mail article, which Friedman says there's no proof that a smear campaign ever happened. Sure, they have some things that note that there's a potential plan in place, but there's no proof that the plan was ever activated. And then when it comes specifically to the Daily Mail article that they list out in the text messages in Blake Lively's lawsuit, he makes a good point that when you see the full thread of Melissa Nathan's text messages, that you'll see that she received the Daily Mail article for the first time, proving that she wasn't the one who, initiated it, that somebody sent it to her and was like, did you see this? And she's like, oh my God, what? Like her text messages show her having no clue what this Daily Mail article was until it was published. But yeah. And he also makes a good point that Baldoni in his text messages with his team shows that he doesn't want to go an aggressive route when it comes to their crisis PR strategy. He didn't want it to be aggressive, but he wanted to make sure that it was defensive and protective of him. So rather than taking a hit at Blake, he just wanted to make sure he was protected on his end. And his text messages with his PR team do kind of showcase that he didn't want to go in the negative route. And they say, we didn't have Jed do any of these things, this astroturfing, like we didn't do that. We're not like, or astroturfing with like negativity, right? Because Blake was saying, oh, well, my social accounts for my hair care line were getting trolled because people were dragging me. It's like, well, maybe because you were promoting your hair care line in a promotion about a movie about DV, But so, yes, back to Soon's comment about him saying that she signed the complaint with CRD under penalty of perjury. Yes, so he's referring to, so after they had this meeting, right? This January 4th meeting that was all hands on deck that Blake and Ryan hosted, where they wanted to talk about they wanted to air all their grievances and talk about all these complaints that they had, where we're not returning to the set unless these things are addressed. Baldoni and Heath and Friedman claimed that the list of items that they had brought to them, it was a 17-point list, and that 17-point list was really like saying were a lot of points that had never happened on set, that they agreed to it because they're like, well, yeah, these are already standards and practices that we're already implementing, so yeah, we'll agree to this. But that the full 29 bullet pointed list they never saw and they never signed off on, which is what she's releasing in her legal complaint. But furthermore, Brian Friedman references at the end of production, Blake Lively signed an agreement that everything that happened after that meeting was up to code, that it was, that there were no other incidents. There was no other alleged assault or anything that made her uncomfortable. She signed this agreement documenting, and it is filed in her legal complaint as well. And so Friedman's saying that is, she signed this document saying that there was no harassment, the work environment was safe, and she agreed to all of that. And so he's claiming that that contradicts some of the claims that she was making, where she says that there was this alleged harassment. And then he specifically references the birthing scene, right? Because it's unclear of when the birthing scene was filmed, but he's claiming that the birthing scene could have possibly been filmed after that January 4th meeting. But it's important because she brings up the birthing scene as part of the harassment, where, she claims that, she was basically naked on set and she didn't have much to clothe herself with. And she kept asking, can I have something to cover myself? Can I have something to cover herself? And they wouldn't give her anything to cover herself, which is where they say there's footage of that. So if she persistently was asking for some sort of coverage to cover herself up because she felt like the coverage that she had was insufficient, then that will all be documented in the raw footage from the set, because a lot of these things happened while they were filming the movie. And so he's claiming, though, but if she's claiming that on-set scene with the birthing scene, she felt uncomfortable and that was considered misconduct and harassment, then at the end of production, she should have never signed her agreement that everything on set happened safely from the January 4th point on. So any claims that she makes after January 4th that were alleged harassment, that would contradict the agreement that she signed, which would then put her, in a tough position, because she did sign the CRD under penalty of perjury, which means she can't lie. And she agrees that she did not lie, but they're saying there are contradictions that will be proven in court. If that made sense. I feel like I tried to explain that as concisely as I could, but I also feel like that may have been a little confusing. Francis and Trapper said, I enjoyed the first Deadpool movie, which at first I thought was very clever and funny. I saw the recent Deadpool. My cousin and I did not like it. The jokes were corny. Ryan Reynolds should let the writers do their thing. Well, I'm hearing somebody sent me an article that shows that Ryan Reynolds had the director of that film removed as well. I don't know. It's interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay. Wasn't he showing while breastfeeding? Wasn't she showing? I don't know. So Blake will be in the sequel. Yeah, probably not Marianne Stout. I don't think there will be a sequel at this point. Brian says, honestly, Zach, that was a great explanation. Okay, I hope so. I hope that made sense. Let's see. Maya says, Ryan Reynolds did the same thing. Oh, to the director of Deadpool 2. Okay, that's exactly what I was referencing, Maya. Thank you. I saw somebody sent me an article on that about how Ryan Reynolds had also had his director removed. So you can see that the lead actor does have the power, who also has a producer credit, to have a director removed should it ever get to that point. It never got to that point where Baldoni was never removed. Wanda Lee says, Zach, can you tell me what are the accusations of the fat shaming? What situation, etc., was Blake Lively fat shamed? Well, they're saying that the fat shaming came from him asking about her weight. There were a couple of things. There was him asking her trainer about her weight, which she references as fat shaming. And then there was also, I believe he gave her a card to someone that he says specializes in some sort of alternative health, right? Like probiotic specialist or something to help her with gut issues, I believe. I think, don't quote me on that, but he gave a card to her in like a referral, like, hey, check this person out, because I guess she was having some sort of issues. And so he was like, I know a really good specialist, give them a try. She then said that she looked at that specialist and saw that specialist specializes in weight loss. And because he referred her to a weight loss specialist, that he was then fat shaming her. But also, to be fair, a lot of those alternative wellness health specialists, a lot of their marketing is pro weight loss, because it's marketing at the end of the day. And so they promote weight loss because that's one of the goals that people will come to them with, right? Let me help regulate your hormones, which can help with weight loss. Like, that's the biggest selling point for a lot of these specialists. I know because my doctor is a specialist and she also specializes in like hormone therapy. And a lot of it is, because we want to help women get control of their hormones and get their body back. So it's unclear whether he was intentionally sending her to this specialist to lose weight, or if that specialist just also happened to promote a specialty in weight loss. That piece unclear. We don't know who the exact specialist is, but those are what she's claiming were the fat shaming. It also, when he mentioned how he can train to pick her up and asked how much she weighed. Yeah, he claims that he wanted to know how much she weighed for the safety on set because he also had an issue with his back and, whatever. I mean, it's kind of weird, right? Like, if you really think about it, you're like, well, I mean, I guess, yeah, you kind of know, like, is she like 150? But, like, I don't know. It is kind of weird, but it's also pretty innocuous at the same time. Um, yeah. Pamela says Deadpool 3 only did as well as it did because of the Wolverine cameos. Yeah, I believe so. That sounds right. Even the westernized medicine model pushes weight loss. Yeah, that's just what the promotion is now, you know. Okay, we'll get back to a lot more of all of these shenanigans with Baldoni and Lively. But really quickly, I did just want to shout out my pals at BioRay. You guys know that I love BioRay products. I've been taking them for well over a decade at this point, and I want to recommend them to you because it's a new year. And if you want to empower your health in 2025, give BioRay a try. BioRay products are the plant medicine that you've been looking for. Okay. Speaking of getting healthy, right? They're tasty liquid tinctures for ease of intake. You can just take it, drop it in your coffee, put it in some water, put it in some sparkling water, whatever you want to put it in. It's easy to take. They have products for infants, kids, or supplements for infants, kids, teens, adults. They even have an intimate line if you want to have some intimate time. You can check out BioRay at BioRay.com. They have a New Year Reset Rebalance 45-day detox journey that you can join them on. You can save 15% for you and your child now and all year long on their 45 detox plan, which you can check out at BioRay.com. So if you want to restart, if you want to reset, rebalance, then you can check out their detox plan. It's 45 days. You can head on over to BioRay.com. It's all plant-based medicine rooted in ancient Chinese remedies that you can check out and learn all about at BioRay.com. You can use code Zack, Z-A-C-K. That is code Zack, Z-A-C-K, for free shipping at BioRay.com. Check them out right now. Like I said, they have products to help you focus, products to help you detox, products to help you sleep for the whole family. Kids, mom, dad, intimate lines. They have some lady passion if you want to spice things up in the bedroom. Check them out now. BuyRay.com. Use code Zack, Z-A-C-K, for free shipping. Also, need to give a shout out to my pals at Pair because it is a new year, new me, and I'm excited to pair with Pair for the year 2025. We've all heard that new year, new you a million times, right? But why just stick to one version of yourself? Pair Eyewear has tons of shapes and styles to match any new vibe or hyperfixation so that you can keep track so you keep trying new things and switch up your look anytime. Base frames like the ones I'm wearing right now start at just $60. That includes your prescription. If you want prescription, you also can order blue light blocking glasses. These are blue light blockers. You can also get sunglasses. And not only do you get your base frames for just $60, but you also will get an additional 15% off your order if you use code NOFILTER at paireyewear.com. That's P-A-I-R, paireyewear.com. 15% off with code no filter. They have tons of collabs, Disney, princesses, Marvel, if you want to, lean into your Reynolds era. They have different sun tops and sparkles and classic colors if you want to keep it clean. Lots of different options. You can just snap them right on. I have mine. Oh, I think I took them into the other room, but I saw on yesterday, I was just snapping them on so you can see all the different styles and the different sunglasses. You can go from indoor to outdoor. Super easy. You just snap them on. The top frames start at just $25. So definitely check them out. Definitely go to paireyewear.com. Use code NOFILTER for 15% off. Okay. free returns and exchanges within 30 days, no questions asked. You can earn points to score dollars off your next purchase with their loyalty program, and you can also save pre-tax FSA and HSA dollars as well. So go and check them out. Show off new sides of yourself this year. Go to Pair Eyewear and use code NOFILTER for 15% off your first pair, and support the show by mentioning No Filter with Zack Peter. Say that we sent you. Be sure to put that in your post-checkout survey. Go to Pair, eyewear.com, code NOFILTER. All right, let's get back to the tea. How are we feeling, you guys, about Blake and Baldoni? Wow, the time just flew. Ryan was at his first event in NYC last night since the story broke, looking haggard. Oh, I didn't see that. The fat shaming comes from him asking how much she weighs because he suffers from back issues. Yeah. Well, he asked the trainer, and the trainer, I guess, relayed that message back to her. Now she's taking it. But here's the other thing. Daily Dose of Donna, shout out to Donna Bowling, revealed this. And she, 'cause she's a little detective herself. So she revealed this on her podcast about Blake Lively having another harassment suit that came from the set of Gossip Girl. Okay. And so on Gossip Girl, I guess she claims that she was harassed by her makeup artist. And I just saw the recap from Donna, so I didn't actually read any of the allegations or details. But I believe she accused the makeup artist of using his finger to put lipstick on her, which, groundbreaking, right? That a makeup artist uses their hands to apply makeup onto the talent. And then there's also she claims that the makeup artist also filmed her while she slept, which was creepy, right? Which, again, makeup on the lip, like, it doesn't seem that kind of crazy that, like, he used his finger to put lipstick on her lip. Like, that's a little strange. And then filming her while she sleeps, I was like, well, that does sound creepy at face value, but we also know there are plenty of face value allegations that she made against Justin Baldoni that, without context, seemed a little uh, suspect now that we look at them. But filming her while she's asleep, like, could it have been a joke? Because, like, I remember, in high school or my family, like, if somebody fell asleep, or even my team from a few years ago, like, if somebody fell asleep on a plane, you would record them and zoom in, and, like, I would always fall asleep with my mouth wide open. I'd always be like, and so people would think that was funny, and they would take pictures and videos and, like, post on social media and whatever. And so, like, it was, whatever, it was a joke. But, if I just said, oh my God, I was on a plane and, this person, like, recorded me while I was asleep, like, it's not like she was naked, right? It's not like she was passed out drunk and they were taking advantage of her in some way. Um, so we don't know the context of that. But so she claims she brought forth, or the report is that Blake Lively brought forth these claims of alleged harassment, and that nothing was done about it for months, right? She was like, "Oh my God, this happened," and nothing happened, nothing happened, nothing happened. And it wasn't until she threatened legal action that finally something was happened. And I believe that makeup artist was removed from the set and then was given a referral to go work on a different set. So this makeup artist was not seen as a predator in any way, because why would you refer them to another set if they're in some way predatory? And also, when I heard that they hadn't done anything about the allegations for months, I'm like, well, that's probably because, like, listen, they're going to protect their bottom line, they're going to protect their set. But, like, if there are allegations of abuse or harassment from someone, they're going to look into that. And if there's no real validity to it, then there's no need to take immediate action. Like, if there isn't an immediate threat. So, like a threat of harm, right? Whereas in this case, Blake was, like, threatening legal action if they didn't remove this particular makeup artist, which again could just be a personality dispute where we're then taking that and, bringing these allegations of harassment forth to get our way. Gia said, we've seen her get offended by mundane questions at junkets. I doubt that she's doing this here times 10. I don't doubt that she's doing this here times 10. Yeah. Christopher Liverman says that Baldoni's bulge must be huge. What makes you say that? Because there was, in the nice pool, Deadpool scene, there is kind of like a reference where nice pool, like, kind of has his package, like, he's, like, wearing tight pants and his bulge is, like, shown. That wasn't alleged in her complaint about him just having his bulge on his butt. Listen, some of us have a bulge, okay? And it's not always fun to contain, and we're not always aware of it. And then when people bring it up, it's not always an intentional flex. Like when you see the guys on TikTok and they're doing little dances in their gray sweatpants, some of us don't try to wear gray sweatpants to flex on things. It's just natural, okay? So I don't know. Yeah, we're gonna leave it at that. But I'm just saying, like, is that something that was also, uncomfortable? Was that he maybe had a bulge and he was walking around on set and you could see his bulge? 'Cause sometimes, like, if you wear tight pants, like the bulge, it just is there, you know? Um, but there was in the Deadpool nice pool, um, seemingly parody scene. Nice pool had his bulge like on full display, and he was just like, "Yeah, it's okay. You can stare at it. I like to stare at it sometimes." So I'm like, "Oh, you know, is that you know?" Something that we were, like, trying to flex, but I can just tell you, trust me, I'll tell you this, the ones that the ones that, like, wear all the Speedos and all that stuff, like, the ones that, like, try to force their bulge out, they don't have a big bulge, they're trying too damn hard. Some of us try to conceal it because it's a little embarrassing, you don't wanna walk into a meeting or anything where you're just, like, putting it all out there. So, I'll just say that. The ones that are intentionally trying to flex it usually ain't that packet, okay? They're trying to make it look like that. So there you go. Is nice pull Baldoni. Seemingly. Kalispa says you should do a live reading through the lawsuit. I've been binge watching people's reactions, and they are we did. I literally did a whole live stream reading Blake's complaint, and then a whole live stream going through. I did 2 parts, right, where we read the initial summaries, and then we read the actual pages. So yeah. Yeah, we're not bulge shaming here. Pamela says, I saw a guy in South Beach, Miami one time who looked like he stuffed a butternut squash in his pants. Probably. Hashtag justice for bulge shaming. Yeah, let's not bulge shame, okay? What's like a lady when she's like very busty, you know? And she like can't control it. And then people think like, oh, she's just trying to be sexy. And it's like, you know what? I'm trying to contain it. I'm trying to put on a sports bra here. Just because he was sad in the basement doesn't mean he didn't harass her. That's very true. But just because she says he harassed her doesn't mean he actually harassed her either. Same thing. You can play it both ways. And so far, she has no proof that he did harass her. Justice for natural bulges. Some people need to tape their bulge down their leg. You can still see it. That's the issue. Because people are like, well, do this and do that. It's like, but it's still there. Like, you can still see it, you know? I don't believe Blake one bit. In all of Hollywood, there is not one person who's worked with her that has had one good thing to say about her. As for Justin, everyone loves him and praises him. That's another good point too, Myra. That's a really good point that like there's no horror stories from other sets of Baldoni, but there are terrible stories of Blake Lively that have always surfaced, like Ellen, when Ellen was finally like exposed for not being the nice person that she claimed that she was. So that's where it is kind of tough because it's like, well, there isn't a history from Baldoni. Like Harvey Weinstein, there was a history and people talked about it and people knew about it and people kept it on the low. They kept it on the hush hush. Whereas in this case, we don't have that with Baldoni. So, you kind of have to also go with that as well. Twan Matthew says, what is your opinion? Oh, I lost the live chat. You guys are moving too fast. What is your opinion on Justin Baldoni now? He crossed all the I's and dotted all his T's. Blake Lively's mean girl behavior is coming to light. Listen, I do agree when people say that just because she may have been difficult to work with on set, that doesn't mean that one, she wasn't harassed, and that doesn't mean that she too deserved to be harassed. But when people bring me those arguments, I'm always like, well, I've never claimed that she deserves it. I've just questioned the validity of her allegations, given the context and proof that we have now seen that have contradicted some of her claims. So when she says there was no intimacy coordinator on set, and then we see a text message where clearly there was an intimacy coordinator from the beginning, then that makes me question, when you lie about one of your 29 points, how am I supposed to believe the validity of all of your 29 points? You know, when she says the other biggest smoking gun or red flag of it all is in her CRD complaint, she literally says that Jamie Heath, the CEO of Wayfair, showed her, nude images of his wife that were pornographic. And then you actually see what the video was. Her legal complaint uses the term pornographic. And then you see it's literally her giving birth in a bathtub, doing a home birth, a water home birth. And most of her body is underwater, so you don't actually see anything. So when you frame that as pornographic in your complaint, and then we see a still image in his lawsuit from that actual video, like, sure, she's technically naked because she's giving birth, but her husband is there. They're giving birth to a baby. To sexualize that in some way. And also, she sexualizes breastfeeding, right? 'Cause she makes it seem like, because she was breastfeeding, that people wanted to come and watch that because it was sexual in some type of way. So, when you lie about the intimacy coordinator, when you miscategorize a birthing video as pornographic, then yeah, that then brings up a lot of red flags and makes me question, when there's one thing, when there's two things, and the things keep piling up, you then begin to question the validity of all of it, right? So we'll have to wait and see. And they claim, like, oh, there's the scene where she claims that he whispers in her ear and she was uncomfortable with that and blah blah blah. And they're like, well, we have the footage of it. It was filmed. It was on the film set. It was while they were performing this scene. So all that raw footage is available, and we plan on releasing all of that raw footage because the footage will show that her reactions were very different than what she's claiming that they were. And I'm sure that they'll show more of her taking proactive physical physical control of the scenes, as we saw when people recorded them on the streets when they were filming the scenes outside, and that video of her pulling him into her. Very different, right? She doesn't seem, and also when there's harassment, there's usually a power dynamic. Who held the power on the set? Blake Lively. Justin Baldoni held no power on the set at all. So when there is that imbalance of power, why would he then pick the lead actress of his film that he's hoping to produce a sequel with, and thinking he's going to have more power than Blake Lively, so let him just abuse her and take advantage of her by harassing her? Doesn't make sense. Christopher says, nice pull is from the comics, to be clear. Movie version is allegedly influenced by Baldoni. Okay, got it. So nice pull does exist, but the way that they present nice pull in the movie does appear to be influenced by Baldoni. Got it. Justin Bulgedoni. Yeah, doing weird stuff doesn't always equate to harassment. Yeah, I agree. Just because she felt uncomfortable, harassment, there's a legal definition for harassment, and there's criteria that you have to meet in order to prove harassment. And it can't just be like, "Ugh, I was uncomfortable," or "Ugh, I didn't like this." Like, that's not proof or evidence of harassment, because then anybody would be able to do that. There is a legal definition for harassment, and you have to be able to meet that, and you have to be able to provide evidence to support those claims. And there's a criteria you have to meet in order to prove the legal definition of harassment. Discomfort isn't it, right? You have to prove damages. You have to prove that she really was in such a distressed emotional state to where it, impacted her life. She also claims that this impacted Ryan Reynolds' lives and that it terrorized her children or traumatized her children as well. So again, these are allegations that will have to be proven in court. All Karens think they're right. I mean, yeah. Joe says, with all the receipts, timeline evidence, everything being shown, I still have a pretty good feeling that all these lawsuits and complaints will be dismissed, so likely no trial. Yeah, and I don't think they're planning on going to trial, to be honest with you. I think all of the lawsuits will ultimately end up being dismissed. I think this is all just a PR game for them to try to each control the narrative. But if that's just what we're going on, then yeah, he does present a much stronger case other than her word. Every time I hear Wayfair, I think of going online and buying something. I know, right? So, yeah, the truth will prevail. Does what Blake did to Justin was literally so wrong? I mean, we'll have to wait and see how this all plays out. What do you think about the director that won the Golden Globe that said on stage that he wants Final Cut to always go to the director? Yes, I touched on that on yesterday's episode. Yeah, it definitely seems to have been a nod at Baldoni and Blake Lively. But even if it wasn't a direct nod at Baldoni and Blake Lively, at the bare minimum, it's, somebody in the industry that agrees that the director's cut should be the final cut and not an actor's cut. Danielle says, praying for you and your pups and family, Zack, but the Santa Ana wins and fires. You're in my thoughts. Thank you, Danielle. I appreciate that. As I said at the top of the show, I'm in downtown, so I'm not directly impacted by the fires. The air quality is really bad. There's black smoke just covering the sky right now. There's ash everywhere. I do have friends and family that have been evacuated. But like I said, if you want to provide support or relief, Be Strong, Bethany Frankel's organization, seems to be doing a very good job of all of that. So they're prepared to help people in crisis at the moment. There are people in crisis. There are people that have lost their homes. It's very sad. It's a very unfortunate situation. Oops, my phone. But yeah, just keep praying. Keep praying. Keep sending relief. Hard to breathe. Yeah. I tried to go to the gym this morning and I really struggled. Like I could not keep up at all. I wonder how Andy's doing. I think he's closer to the fires than Zack is. Yes, Andy is close to the fire. I checked on him on this morning. I called him last night. He's okay. Yeah, I'll give you an update on Andy because I was texting with him this morning. He said, yes, we're all good. It's heading more towards Malibu and Topanga, the fire. Most smoke is starting to head towards the ocean and then come back. I'm just taking it easy and going to work on the podcast in a little bit. Yeah. And then he sent me photos so you can see. But yeah, I think I showed you even from downtown. It's pretty gnarly. Look at this is from my apartment this morning. I took this morning. You can just see the whole sky is covered in black smoke, which is just crazy. And this shows you kind of how wide, because like if you think about it, Palisades is all the way on like this side of town, and then Pasadena and Altadena are all the way on this side of town. So it's literally all of LA is just surrounded by this giant fire, which is crazy. Look at all of LA is in this red zone right now, and you just have these fires all over, and it's got a pretty wide scope in how far it is. I'm at the center of all of it. So if you look at this, this photo that I just posted on the screen with these three fires, I'm right in between the two. I mean, I'm not in the triangle, but I'm in between the other two fires, but I'm far from them. So they're likely not going to hit downtown, but it's not good. It's not good. But yeah, just keep supporting, give Be Strong some love and some support. And yeah, what else did we want to talk about? Zack, are you going to talk about Paige and Craig, child? Yes, child. We're going to talk about it. Jade. So we know that Paige DeSorbo announced that she has broken up with Craig. And so Craig kind of went quiet for a while. I believe they were together up until December 30th. Is what I heard. And apparently Craig was kind of blindsided by all of this. And he wrote this. Let me see if I can play his actual clip that he posted for you guys, because I'm kind of bummed for him. He definitely seems to have been taken by surprise in all of this. He definitely seems to here, let me pull it up because I'm pretty sure he was not expecting this at all. But so he went on his Instagram story and basically was just like, hey, I'm taking time for me and I don't really know. Let me try to find it. Give me 1 second. I saw James Kennedy went back on social media. Interesting. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Here it is.
Oh, figured it's finally time to check in with everyone. Sorry about the delay. This has all been very, very unexpected, to say the least. But I guess life I got to start living again, whatever that looks like. Whatever my new normal looks like, I have to start. Gratitude will get you through this. With time comes clarity. All of the advice I'm trying to listen to. But yeah, right before the holidays, I was very shocked. And it's okay. It takes two people to be in a relationship, and you can't control other people. You can only control how you react to it. So remember to be kind to Paige and me and yourselves and all of that good stuff. And I'm still processing everything, which is normal. I mean, 3-year relationship, it's your best friend who you talk to all day, every day, and then they're just gone. So, one day I'll be able to talk more on it. But right now, I just wanted to thank everyone for their kind messages. It has been really nice to read them, and it's just life. I have to take my own advice that I give when I go around and speak at these home shows, that no one's ever not better off after a breakup. But I guess now I got to practice what I preach and believe it, and truly have faith in God that everything happens for a reason. But I love you all, and I'll see.
So there you go. That's what Craig had to say about his breakup. Seems he was blindsided by it. I don't think Paige cheated. I think that she never really wanted to settle down with him, and he wanted to settle down, and she just didn't see their futures aligning. So I don't think that they were ever going to work out. But I'm glad he's free. Listen, she's reaching the peak of her career, right? She has Giggly Squad. She's going on tour. They have the book coming out. Summer House is kind of having its moment. So I feel like it's definitely going to be fine for both of them. I think they'll both sail off into the sunset and be all good. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't have any tea on them other than I just think that it's not as nefarious as people want to believe that it is. I don't think she cheated or anything. I think she genuinely just realized like there's no future here and we're not on the same page. And if we're not on the same page, we're not compatible, then there's no reason in dragging this out any longer. And I think he was ready to settle down and she just wasn't. And then Real Houses of Beverly Hills. Watched it last night. Very good. Well, actually, no. It was very boring until the end. And I watched it live, so it was tough because I couldn't fast forward through Garcelle's scenes, but it's really only juicy towards the end when you see Kyle and Sutton and Kyle and Dorit Kyle and Sutton going after Dorit and her fighting with them. Sutton is finally starting to look bad, and I'm glad Erica's calling out, what I had always said about Sutton always kind of poking at people when they're down. She kicked Erica when she was at her worst time. She kicked Kyle when she was down last season. And now she's kicking at Dorit when she's down. So I feel like, it's not looking so good for Sutton. But I always said this. I said this like 2 seasons ago. I'm like, just wait. The pendulum is going to shift and the tide is going to turn and the audience is going to turn on Sutton. And they're going to see Sutton for who Sutton really is. I was like, Sutton's going to be the new Lisa Rinna, where the audience once loved her. And then they're going to completely turn on her because they think that they're over her antics. And now we're seeing that. And people are finally starting to see what Garcelle, brings to the show, which isn't very much. She also likes to kick people when they're down. And, as riveted as I am by the storyline of her and her new Bakersfield beach house, not that hooked, to be honest. So Beverly Hills was good, but like I said, it really doesn't get good until like the end of the episode. But that's all I got to say about it. We love Bully Sutton. Sorry, Zack. Good for you. Sutton has no storyline. Yawn. Yeah. Well, Janelle. Blake and Ryan are giants in the film business and are rich and powerful, and Justin is a little peanut. Yes, he is. They think that they can flex their power and beat him, but it seems like Baldoni's going hard and he plans to take him to the bank. So Mallory says, I liked Garcelle's moments with her family. I really love Bo's calling out Sutton, and this Kyle and PK thing is so weird to me. Kyle being weird because she knows she shouldn't be conversing with PK. Yeah, Kyle shouldn't be acting like, what? That's such a bad thing. Like, Kyle, come on. You did not just fall out of a coconut tree. You know that that's completely inappropriate to be texting PK, even if they are just memes. It's still fucking weird, right? And then, what else did you say? Oh, Bose. I'm loving Bose this season. Bose came in, and Bose is the boss. She's coming in. She's taking nobody's shit. She's, holding her own. She doesn't need to do it in an overly performative way, because a lot of times you'll see new housewives come in and they try to act like Leah McSweeney, so over the top. But in this case, Bose doesn't need to. She's just like, boom, I can cut you down with my words, like boom, 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 and you're done. You're like, okay, Bose, let's get it. Let's get it, get it, get it. So yeah. Danielle says, Zach, are we doing a live Zoom meeting for members only? And should I do it with we've discussed possibly doing a Zoom, but we haven't had any definitive plans. I'm just trying to survive the burning city around me, but let me circle back on that one. Diane says, why can't she text him? Her and Dorit haven't been close, and the couples were friends. Because I just think it's weird, right, to be texting your friend's husband when they're having issues. I think Dorit's concern is that PK is probably giving Kyle info about their separation. And I think PK probably is venting to Kyle. And I think Kyle didn't want to admit that. I did read that from that scene, is that Kyle seemed like she, when she's like, it's just memes. It's just memes. Did he send me like a meme? Sure. But I also believe that Kyle and PK have probably spoken, and that Kyle and PK probably have discussed the issues in Dorit's marriage, and how they both agree that Dorit's acting different and she's not acting like herself, because Kyle and PK have both said the same thing, that Dorit is acting out of character. All right. If you guys are enjoying the podcast, please hit the like button on YouTube. Drop a comment below on YouTube or on Spotify. Make sure you subscribe so that you always get the latest. I am on Apple. You can watch on Spotify and YouTube, or you can just listen on Apple Podcasts. Definitely subscribe and leave a good 5-star review. I love the reviews. I appreciate the love that you guys send. Let me give another shout out right now. I meant to do this at the top of the show, and I just fell out of a coconut tree and completely forgot. But definitely continue to show the show some love. Here's a good one. Downstream Hicks 2.0 said, just well, really insightful on Blake Lively. I can speak from experience as a wardrobe stylist in LA that what she did was lowbrow, overstepping, and diva behavior. Crew like myself consider a nightmare. She doesn't stay in her lane, which sets. Thank you. We have EJ Carzona, who says, enjoyable. Zach puts out a lot of great content, highly enjoyable, and would recommend. And then Jess B says, facts, not vibes. Excellent podcaster that provides opinions with facts and reasoning rather than just vibes. I also enjoy his ability to break down more complex concepts into easy to understand and enjoyable dialogue. Thank you guys. Please keep leaving those reviews. Please keep giving those 5-star ratings. Keep listening, sharing, downloading, all the things. And yeah, stay tuned. More tea to come. Give me a follow, Just Plain Zach. Follow the podcast at No Filter with Zach. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye, guys. And please support Be Strong and everyone affected by the fires right now. We could all use the love and prayers and support. So thank you.